This past weekend on the 18th, was that this weekend? Honestly, I don't know. Time has just flown by. I think this was before the weekend actually started. I was able, though, to see a little independent film called The Critic, and this was a film starring the great Ian McKellen. Now, when I first saw the marketing for this movie and first heard that this film was even a thing, all I saw was it had the word critic in it, it had Ian McKellen in it, he was looking fire in that suit and that hat, look at that mug and that poster right there. I thought immediately, I have to see this movie. I don't even know what it's about. He's probably not a movie critic by any means. Sure enough, he's not. He in the film actually plays a theater critic. But I was very excited by that. And then also saw that you had some other very talented actors involved with the project, including Mark Strong and Gemma Arterton as well. And I thought, okay, this has piqued my interest. Let me go check it out. Unfortunately, that's the only good part of the movie, is the casting. Ian McKellen's performance, Gemma Arterton's performance, Mark Strong's performance, really all of those supporting roles in there, I think all do a pretty darn good job. The sad part of the film is that the story is just not really all that good. So as you can see over on Critic List, I gave this film a 4 out of 10, a 40% decent score. It took a lot within me to honestly not give this a bogus rating. The only thing that really kept it in that decent range for me was the fact that the performances given, especially by Ian McKellen, were really that good. Were really that powerful. So from my review over on Critic List, I just got home from seeing this new film starring Ian McKellen and Gemma Arterton, and unfortunately, I must say, I was underwhelmed. While McKellen and Arterton deliver great performances, supported by a strong cast that includes Mark Strong, Ben Barnes, and Alfred Enoch, the film ultimately falls short. People might recognize Alfred Enoch from the Harry Potter films. He was good in his supporting role in this movie. The story, pacing, and direction are all over the place, leaving much to be desired, as Banjo Sandwich posts a review during the middle of my show. How dare you, Gary Banjo Sandwich Worthington? I don't know if I've seen you in the chat tonight all that much either. I'm not sure if it's based on a true story, but I couldn't help feeling that it could have been a much better film if it had focused more on an aging theater critic teaching an apprentice his craft, or helping an actress who seeks nothing more than acceptance, wanting to hear that she's achieved her dreams because of his inspiration as a critic. And this, as I mentioned, is the heart of my problem with the movie. The movie decides to go down a very interesting path. Without trying to spoil too many things about it, essentially what is going on is the critic character played by Ian McKellen is going through a bit of a rough patch in his life, with the big reason of that being that Mark Strong is the son of the man who had owned the paper he works for. He works for a major paper in the United Kingdom, in London, I believe, and he is their primary theater critic. With the death of the owner of the paper, Mark Strong has to take over, and Mark Strong wants to cut the fat. He wants to update the paper. He wants to make it more relevant. And part of that means trying to get away and get rid of the older guard. And that's always a difficult thing whenever you try to do that in business. And clearly, this is something that we are meant to be on the side of Ian McKellen's character, right? We're meant to be on his and the other persons who are part of that old guard side. Even though they're not shown as being the best people, as far as being the most generous or being the most humble or the most morally good of persons, we're really kind of meant to support them in certain ways because Ian McKellen plays a very likable person. So ultimately, because now his job is threatened, he's put on probation. Also because of the fact this is the 1930s London, and Ian McKellen, of course, is playing a gay man. And it is illegal to engage in such activities at that time in London. And so he is also put on probation because of that. And essentially, if he gives in to his proclivities, as is the phrase that they use in the movie, or if he, writes his reviews in the negative way that he has been writing them more recently, then it will lead to his cancellation. It will lead to his firing. Ultimately, he cannot give in, or rather he cannot resist giving in to his proclivities and gets caught. And ultimately, this leads to him being put on, basically it leads to him getting fired, right? He's given his 2 weeks notice saying, all right, you're going to be able to go out with dignity here, but you are on your way out. This leads to him trying to use an actress who he's been very critical of in his time as a critic, played by Gemma Arterton, trying to work with her essentially to keep his job. So trying to create a ploy, as it were, to bring about his safety in his job. And I will leave it at that because that going past that point would really bring in some spoilers. And so the relationship that forms between Ian McKellen and Gemma Arterton works because the actors have very good chemistry with each other. They're able to play off each other pretty well. The issue ultimately, though, comes down to the story. I think that the relationship between them is rushed a bit to the point where you don't care about the events that happen to those characters throughout the course of the movie. You also don't really care all that much about what happens to the characters surrounding everyone else, right? Whether it be Ian McKellen's character, whether it be Mark Strong's character, whether it even be the role portrayed by Ben Barnes or Alfred Enoch. All of them, I think, ultimately fall prey to having very weak, underdeveloped characters that never really seem to go anywhere. And the places that the film does decide to go really just leaves you scratching your head with, why was this movie made? What is the purpose of this film? How is this meant to be realistic in any form or fashion? And it also comes down to the fact that the stakes of the movie really aren't that high. The stakes of the movie, right, the whole concept of it being about him about to lose his job as someone who's worked in this place for 40 years, and he is trying to save his job, those really aren't very heavy stakes. I mean, especially with Ian McKellen being as old as he is in real life, you simply look at this and say, yeah, you're about at long past retirement age. You probably have a pretty good pension. You probably could retire and have a lot of fun with the rest of your career, still going to see shows, still going to see theater productions. And I imagine you should have saved up a lot of money along your way as well with the kind of job that you had to be able to enjoy the life that you've been wanting to live. But instead, we're meant to believe that, oh no, if he doesn't keep his job, it's kind of the end of this person. Again, not really realistic portrayal here. And so ultimately, this film falls quite flat. So I give it a 40% decent score, 4 out of 10. Ian McKellen, as I said, does a great job, but it just doesn't do enough, as I see here at the very end. Instead, the film offers a messy narrative that tries to juggle too many things, often becomes boring, and fails to find a clear purpose. This is especially disappointing given the incredible talent assembled on screen. Sadly, I cannot recommend this movie unless you're a devoted fan of Ian McKellen, and to a certain extent, maybe of Gemma Arterton, but even then, I think you'll still walk out of this film being vastly disappointed. Those are my thoughts on The Critic. Have you seen it? What say you? Let's get back into the comments section to see if anyone has either seen it or heard their other things about it. Now for a huge special shout out to all of my Chosen of Valhalla members, starting off first with my people on Patreon, Father Luca Illich and Miss Martin Muses. Check out her YouTube channel by the same name, Miss Martin Muses. Also to my Subscribestar people, Matt317. Check out his Twitch channel by the same name, Matt317. And also to the K-Man. Check out his website, xtheboundaries.co. And lastly to my YouTube member, Mr. Roy. Shout out to you, good sir. And if you want your name shouted out at the end of every live stream and video, check out the top link in the video description below where you get access to that. Also, you get access to a plethora of other things. You get your name listed at the end of every live stream and video, like you saw in those names that came up before this video started. And also access to a giveaways channel that I host over on the Discord server where I give away 4Ks, Steelbooks, Blu-rays, all kinds of stuff. So check that out if you're interested in that. Also, I have an exclusive podcast that I hold at least once a month, and it's always a good time, and you get extra bonus content with that also. So if any of that sounds interesting, again, check out that top link in the video description below. You guys are all amazing, and beautiful people. Have a wonderful rest of your day, a blessed August, and as always, God bless.